All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's for Pacific time, quite bright and early. So for those of you in our time zone here, good morning and good time zone to the rest of you. Hello, welcome. All right, let's get started. Hello, welcome to the Intuit Tech Stories series. I'm Lucy Shen, a developer advocate here at Intuit, and I'll be your host and your moderator today. So for those who don't know, Tech Stories are a series of virtual events where you can experience our cutting edge technologies and how Intuit uses them to power prosperity around the world. Our technology leaders will share in-depth topics to help you learn, grow, and hone your craft. So in today's Tech Stories webinar, we're going to hear from 4 of my wonderful colleagues here at Intuit. They work on our AI and ML data platforms across various functions, and we'll also learn how all their roles intersect to bring machine learning, natural language processing, and knowledge engineering together to power prosperity for our customers. We'll demystify some ML terminology, discuss the Intuit ML platform, and then also dive deep on how we're innovating at scale Intuit-wide when it comes to reusable AI. Some really quick housekeeping notes. Zoom chat is going to be disabled for this webinar, but we are taking questions in the Q&A function. So if you've never used a Zoom webinar before, it's very easy. Just look at the toolbar. There's a Q&A button, and that's where you'll put your questions in. We'll get to as many as we can towards the end. There's a section that we have reserved for community questions. So do drop your questions in there. All right. Let's get our panelists here. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to all of our panelists. Let's get to know you all a bit, yeah? We'll go in reverse alphabetical order just to mix it up a little. So it'll be Zhu, Justin, Ian, and then Efraim. Take it away. Oh, so we'll ask for your name, your role at Intuit, and then just as an icebreaker, do you have a favorite pen or other writing implement? And if you do, please describe it.
Awesome. Thanks, Lucy. And hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Zhu, and I'm a technical program manager here at Intuit. My favorite pen is actually something that I collected as a teenager. They're called these jelly roll pens, and they're, yeah, I see Lucy nodding. Yeah, so they're like the gel pens that come in like a variety of different colors. They come in sparkles, and it was just super fun, and it always brings back fond memories.
I'll go next. I'm Justin. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm a software engineer here at Intuit, working on the Intuit Futures team. In terms of a favorite pen, I would say I'm kind of a tech geek, so I've got a lot of gizmos and gadgets. I've got a couple of pens from this company called LiveScribe, which are really cool. It's got like a microphone and a camera on it. So it records audio as you're writing, and the little camera actually watches your pen stroke. So it'll actually record like your strokes as you're writing. And after the fact, you can play back the audio recording and you can like watch yourself like ghost write. So it's actually pretty cool stuff. Used it a whole bunch in college. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. Maybe I'll pass it off to Ian.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Ian Sebanja. I'm a product manager in the Intuit AI and data organization. With regards to pen, I love pens. I have a lot of pens, so this is a tough question for me. But right now, I'm feeling the Moji pens. They come in a variety of colors, and they are very smooth to write with. I take notes using paper, so I like pens that are smooth and easy to use. So that's my pen of the moment. It changes. I also like fountain pens. Next, I'll give it to Efraim.
Hi, I'm Efraim Feinstein. I'm an architect and data scientist. I work with other data scientists and architects on a few projects involving AI services architecture, upcoming architecture for symbolic AI platform, and ways to combine symbolic and statistical AI. And I also work on reusable AI. My favorite pen is not actually a pen for writing. So I trained during my PhD studies in biophysics. I worked in an experimental lab. And so we often built things with our hands. And sometimes that involved putting things in glass. So in order to crack glass neatly, you have to use a diamond tip scriber. It looks just like a black writing pen, but it has a small industrial diamond at the point instead of a ball or felt. You'd scratch the glass with just the right pressure, get a straight line and crack. And if you did it right, you get 2 neatly cut pieces with a smooth edge.
I think every single one of you all had unexpected answers. So that was such a great icebreaker. Thank you all for playing along. I appreciate it. It's good to get to know you all, and we'll get to know your work a lot more through this panel. So before we move on, before I start peppering our panelists with questions, I have a question for our audience. We want to get to know you all a little bit also. So hold up, I'm going to run a poll. Launch. There you go. So y'all should see like a pop-up on the Zoom webinar. Very short and sweet. Why are you interested? Why are you here, right? Why are you interested in learning about Intuit's ML platform? And then we can get a quick distribution of what y'all are here for, and I can always gear the questions to answer your interests a little bit more that way. So I see your answers rolling in. Thank you all very much for responding on the poll. Give you just a few seconds, a minute. There's an open response if you want to give us your answer free form at the end too. All right, looks like it's mostly stabilized. I'm going to give you all a few more seconds to trickle in. All right, I'm going to wrap this and poll. Here you go. You can look at the results with me. So we have, let's see, 40% of y'all, this is the largest, not majority, but a plurality, want to know more about Intuit's AI and ML technologies and or products, which is interesting. You'll definitely be hearing about that. People are curious about how a cross-functional team works together to build an AI ML platform. We have them right in front of you, which is great. And you want to just learn more about AI and ML. That's actually, this is perfect. Thank you all for answering this. Just wanted to make sure our questions are geared in the right direction, and they are, because we're going to kick off with laying some groundwork. So I'm actually just going to toss this question over to Efraim to answer. We want to demystify some ML terminology for anyone here who might be like pretty new to AI ML. So the words that we have laid out, and you're welcome to add on or change whatever you'd like, but we're thinking ML versus AI, what a model is, what features are, what is deep learning, and what is big data. I know I threw a lot of that at you, but if you could give us a quick primer of what these words are.
Yeah, so that's a big one. So AI is the umbrella term for all artificial intelligence, and ML is machine learning. If you're a mathematician, you just call it all statistics. AI includes all kinds of decisions or inferences that are being made by machines. Initially, AI was all about machines manipulating rules and logic, being able to infer conclusions from that logic. So for example, I might make a statement like, when it rains, I need an umbrella. Today it is raining, so we'll infer today I need an umbrella. We call that field today symbolic AI, and ML, machine learning, usually refers to statistical machine learning. It's a subset of artificial intelligence where you use large numbers of examples and training data and use that to make inferences in unseen situations based on the statistical data, like the properties of that training data. That only became practical when the prices of storage and compute became inexpensive enough that any company or even really any individual with a computer could store and process big data, just large amounts of training examples. In statistical machine learning, the computer uses a machine learning algorithm to develop a mathematical model of the universe of the question that we're trying to answer, where the question is represented by a set of features. Those are the inputs to the model. They're derived from the data, and a target, that's the intended output of the model. When a model is trained and sees a previously unseen set of values, it essentially looks back to its training, finds the most likely value of the target based on what it's seen. So as a concrete example, if I'm building an ML model to predict the type of flower from a picture of the flower, I might try to build features like how many petals it has, what color, the size of the plant, and so on, knowing that those values are and some labels for some flowers. I know I can identify an unknown one, but my limitation is that it has to be from the set of the ones the models have been trained to see. There was also unsupervised machine learning, where I don't actually even have a label, and all that I'm trying to do is find things that within my training set that are similar to each other, and then I'm finding, for example, what from the unknown set is most similar to which set of data from the training set is it most similar to. Deep learning is a particular type of machine learning. It's based on artificial neural networks. And those are basically connections of connected building blocks, which we call neurons as an analogy to brain cells. Of course, it's only an analogy. They're much, much simplified. Each neuron itself is like a small decision unit. It sees a part of the problem. And by connecting them together such that one neuron's output becomes the input to the next layer, designing how the connections between the neurons are made, we have a neural architecture. And with lots of training data, the architecture can learn how to weight each of those decision units. And the architecture and weights form, in that case, a model. The deep in deep learning refers to the number of layers of connected neurons in a network. Deep learning is a very generic technique and can be applied to a lot of problems, particularly in image processing and text processing spaces. And one of the touted benefits of deep learning is that some of the earlier layers can be used to take the raw data to build features so that the type of detailed domain knowledge, feature engineering that would be required for traditional statistical machine learning isn't required. Of course, we end up replacing that domain knowledge with the knowledge required to select and build new neural architecture. So the AI scientist isn't going out of the picture just yet. And I think that covers all the terms.
That was so much. It's such a good crash course also, Efraim. Thank you for taking that on. I know it was a big question that I just threw at you right at the top of this webinar. So thank you for, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up and applauses coming from the audience. So honestly, that was one of the best crash courses I've seen ever with no visual aids. So I'm going to be replaying that at some point in the future for myself. Took a lot of notes on the side, and I hope that was helpful for everyone here who needs a bit of orientation or maybe a refresher. I hope that was helpful. And to anyone who's brand new, if that was overwhelming, do not worry, that is to be expected. But we will be diving into a lot more of the specifics in specific case studies. So hopefully it will slowly start to make sense to you as we talk through things. So I do have a question next for the entire panel, and I will name in order so we don't talk over each other, but what are some common misconceptions in this big data and ML space? I feel like people have we talk about it a lot in the industry, but a lot of people don't actually work in this space. So as people who do work in it, what are some common misconceptions? And we'll start with Zhu.
Sure. Yeah, so I think also personally, I'm pretty new to the AI and ML space. And I think initially, before I got more involved, one of the common misconceptions or something that I always thought about was that AI just seems like it's so complex and like a little bit magical. But now that I kind of got a little bit more of an understanding into it, I find it to be actually relatively straightforward and pretty logical, right? As Efraim mentioned, like we're using a lot of statistics, patterns, trends to build these predictions and insights. And that's a way for us to leverage, the data that's around for improving our decision making. And I think the really cool thing is that, like here at Intuit, like we're extending the benefits of AI to our customers, and we're empowering them to make better decisions, like for their businesses. I can pass it on to Justin.
Sure. For me personally, I've done research just in academia. I've also interned in just like the AI space and industry. And now here in Intuit, I would say a common misconception that I've heard a lot is you need to be a PhD, an absolute genius like Efraim, or a professor that's graduated from MIT at the age of 16, or an ACM fellow with multiple patents and awards. I would say that's definitely not the case, especially here at Intuit. You really just need to be passionate in the space. And what I mean by that is everyone has their own unique background, whether it comes from just your education, your past experience, and that really provides a diverse set of viewpoints. And at Intuit, we really value that diversity because we work cross-functionally as mission-based teams. And that diversity really helps us build better products because we're really building for a diverse world. And that diversity is extremely valued, and it really helps us be stronger together. So I'd say definitely don't need to be super AI focused. As long as you're interested in this space, go for it head first.
Yeah, I'm going to add on just a little bit here. So for those of you, I know a lot of people join our webinars because they're like curious what opportunities there are at Intuit. So in the AI and ML space, but more accurately across all of our tech disciplines at Intuit, we do have something called the Career Pathways Program. It's like an apprenticeship program for diverse backgrounds. So if you're, for instance, coming into this from an unconventional pathway, this is a good option. So just so you all know, it's out there. We have currently 40 plus participants and like 9 people who are now graduated and working full time. So I'm going to drop a link for anyone who might be curious about that in the Zoom chat. Feel free to check that out. Just a good chance to insert that so we all know. I'm going to tap on Ian next.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the misconceptions I've seen people highlight is, apart from what Zhu and Justin said, oh, it's new, or I need a PhD, it's rather, it's magical. It's more of like, this is a new field. And the answer is that it has existed, as Efraim said, it's the explosion in making data, rather storage cheap and compute cheap, that it has come to the forefront. So there is a lot of literature out there if you want to read about it. And this literature targets different personas. There's one for a PhD, for one if you're just starting out, videos online. So if you want to get started, there's a whole body of literature that can help you get up to speed, and it can target your level that you're coming in at. So it's not new. It has been there for a long time. It's just that now it's become cheaper and cheaper to do AI.
And finally, we have Efraim.
Yeah, so just to add on to what Ian was saying there, it's great now. You can go out there on your computer and just like download a bunch of packages and do AI that used to be only available in like university settings. And I think that's amazing. But and along with that, there's like this like popular fear around AI that our AI overlords are going to come and take over the universe. But even within industry and among experts, there's a lot of hype. Like this AI is so good at generating human-sounding language, so it must be gaining sentience. And it's true that AIs will sometimes be better than humans doing certain computational tasks. That's what computers are here to do. And they help us eliminate repetitive work, help humans be more efficient. Ultimately, though, what AI is doing is just generating a statistical model of a relatively small universe in this domain and spitting back results that look like the input is trained on. So some kind of pattern recognition. It's a tool. It can be used for good, it can be used for bad, and it's up to the AI practitioner policies, in some cases laws, to make sure that AI is used responsibly. And in the end, though, it's garbage in, garbage out. The AI is limited really by the imagination of its creator. And there's no magic model that's going to solve all problems. AI is a practice, is about finding the right way to solve a problem. It can involve one or more techniques that are good at their little part of the task, and then they get composed into something that solves the entirety of a problem that's the interests our business and or a use case. And when a task is repeated in more than one domain, we get this reusable AI, which not only helps scale our infrastructure, also helps scale our AI practitioners, who there's only a limited number of us, and now we can take the same set of work that we've done and expand it out to multiple domains, and that's very exciting.
Yeah, that's the perfect pivot point. So thank you, Efraim, for passing me that baton, because the next thing we do want to talk about, and it is the main focus of our webinar today, is reusable AI, which is literally what we were just talking about. So thank you all very much for sharing some notes on common misconceptions about reusable AI, though. So at least for our company at Intuit, one of our main mantras, and you've heard this already in a lot of the panelist responses, but so much of what we do in the way that we think about things and approach our problems and build our products is in service to our customers. Like, we're very customer centric and customer focused. And one of our main mantras is more money, less work, complete confidence. And I think that less work component plays in a lot to this discussion about AI, and especially reusable AI, and the way that we approach it as a platform company, where pieces are democratized and reusable, and we can accelerate our innovation, scale it faster, and using our platform infrastructure to make it easy, both internally for us as people using the engineering platform and for our customers using our product platform, right? This means things like, when we talk about reusable AI, what we're referring to is like existing models that we can apply to multiple use cases. Efraim mentioned downloading libraries that you can use. It's a very similar mindset. This is about, instead of starting from scratch and building things like solutions for specific problems, we can work on AI-ready components that kind of compose together into a solution that we can more quickly deliver to our customers. So in that vein, we'd like to kind of take a look at some case studies. In our case, we're thinking about autocomplete, so you'll hear some of our panelists talk about that, just to see reusable AI in action. Like, we talk about reusable AI, sure, it sounds great. How does that actually work, though? So let's start with Ian. I talked a little bit about what reusable AI is. How would you define reusable AI as a PM in this space?
Yeah, so as a PM, the way I sell reusable AI is that this is a way of getting AI that has already been built, and with minor modifications, making it adaptable to your use case. So one of the things we tend to say in the technical sphere, programmers, PMs, is, it's work smart. And so this is a smart way of working, whereby you leverage the work that other people have done in order to get this solution out there so that you can solve a customer's needs. So in summary, reusable AI is taking an AI component, modifying it a little bit, and then it's adaptable to your use case. Now, what this also means is that from the get-go, when the AI is built, it's built with the notion that we want this to be reusable. Efraim earlier on talked about how sometimes you can have a particular domain and you build an AI solution that is very specific. In this case, what you try to do is you don't want to be super specific, you want to be a little bit broad. And then when you take that AI, you make it very specific to your use case. So you're reusing what other people have built and making it very specific to your use case. That's how I sell reusable AI, and developers, they already know, oh, it's similar to taking a library, or if you've done programming, it's like inheritance or polymorphism, those kinds of concepts, because programmers are always reusing other people's programs. So that's how I sell it to our developers.
That's so true. What we do as developers in the tech space in general would not be possible without the building blocks that everyone else has built before us, right? Yeah. Great point. Thank you, Ian, for that explanation. I'm going to keep the next questions also. We'll start with you also, and then you can pass it on to whoever else. But you've given us a good explanation of what reusable AI is and the mindset for approaching it. But in our example that we're hoping to talk about, in the AI autocomplete use case specifically, where does that feature show up and what are those use cases? So how did we go from a broad to a narrow AI autocomplete solution in this particular case?
Yeah, so first of all, I would define autocomplete. So autocomplete, if you've used something like Gmail or a phone as you're typing, it suggests that, hey, do you intend this to be the word so that you don't need to type every letter? And then if you say yes, it just fills in the word. So it's serving you a couple of keystrokes. Now, if you're a big texter as I am, you can imagine the number of keystrokes that are saved by just having this feature for texting or even for writing emails. So that's what autocomplete means. Now, specifically for us, I will start with where autocomplete shows up in our products. So a lot of our products for Intuit, we have what we call fields that the user has to fill in. If a business is sending an invoice out, they need to fill in who they're charging, the amount, and maybe a brief description. If you're a business and you're sending out 100 invoices per day, you can imagine a lot of typing that you have to do. So, and that is just one business. Now you multiply that out by our customer base, and you see that there are a lot of forms, there are a lot of customers. And if we think of our mission, powering prosperity, prosperity can be defined as time, money. In this particular use case, we are defining it as time. If I can spend less time doing this work of typing out things, I can focus on other aspects. So that gives you an idea of how we usually start out in that. What is the value that we can provide to our users? How can we save them time and money? And then working backwards, we try to identify particular use cases. So having identified, hey, we have a lot of customers, they're always typing in fields. How do we save them time? Well, we can use autocomplete. Well, how do we actually make sure that this is available? So those form fields, we have developers who have to create that fields. So then how do we make it easy for them to include this into these form fields? And so that's where the notion of came about of like, let's build a service called autocomplete. It's something that developers can take this reusable AI and with just a few changes. Remember, developers already want to do less work. They want to work smarter. Few changes, and then it's something that our end customers can use. So that was how this autocomplete feature came about, and we went through our D4D process, we tested it with users, tested it with developers, and then we started rolling it out.
Thanks for walking us through that entire thought process. I thought that was super illuminating. I'm actually gonna, I know the rest of the team has a lot to add on, so I'll pass it on to Zhu. Can you tell us a little more about AI Autocomplete, where it's used, since Ian brought us to the point at which, I guess, where the rationale behind arriving at the solution?
Yeah, definitely. I think Ian covered a lot of the details of where it's used today. I think, just a couple of things I'll add on is that, like, as Ian mentioned, it's in multiple Intuit products today. Thousands of customers are using it. A lot of the benefits that we're seeing is really like in cases where people have to repetitively enter data. That's what autocomplete is really solving for. And as a result, like what we're seeing is that like our customers are able to complete the forms, fields, complete their tasks that they have to do in much quicker times. And, that's really the benefit that, autocomplete has within Intuit products today. I can pass it on to Justin next.
Sure. I think Ian and Zhu have definitely covered almost everything. So maybe I'll just try to add a little bit of color. Kind of like as Ian is saying, because we have this reusable AI, it allows us to use the same model, like autocomplete in this case, to be used in multiple places, like Zhu is saying. Just as a couple of examples, we have like QuickBooks business owners filling out invoices like Ian touched on. We've got even like on the expert side, QP Live experts, so accountants, using it to help better ask questions for their QuickBooks customers and help their customers build out their books correctly. What it effectively does is it's building out confidence in the product, which leads to more completions over time. Just like, as an example, if we go back to the invoice example, let's say I'm a baker, as Ian's saying, I have to go create an invoice 5, 10, 100 times a day. If I can create each invoice faster, I can get back to my core business of baking a half sheet of cake or a dozen donuts or whatever it may be. That's leaving me with more time and, more importantly, also more money in my company, because now I can spend all my time focused on what I'm good at as a baker, and I have complete confidence that Intuit's products is handling all the back office stuff for me. And maybe one last quick thought on just saving time that came into mind. On the engineering side, we're also benefiting quite a bit from the reusable AI. Because we're able to re-leverage all of these components, it makes it very easy for a new person to add in autocomplete into a brand new experience. Let's say tomorrow we want to use it for a search bar or whatever. Right now with reusable AI, our goal is really to make it so that regardless of who you are, whether you're an early career software engineer straight out of school, or you're a staff engineer with 5, 10, 15, 20 years of experience, the goal is either one of you should be able to integrate that AI autocomplete into that search bar in the same amount of time. And ultimately, that results in just delivering more AI to our customers and more customer benefit. So yeah, just a couple thoughts.
You all keep handing me the easiest pivot points, because the next thing I was going to ask about is democratizing AI and like making AI accessible and easy to use. And that's exactly what Justin was just telling us about also. So I'll just continue this line of questioning on the topic of like democratizing AI. How are we accelerating AI adoption like internally within our company to make the tooling more generic and make it easier to be widely adopted by everyone, so that, if another team in I don't even know, like somewhere deep in the QuickBooks payroll platform wants to use the AI autocomplete function, that they can adopt it too? How are we making life easier for them? And we'll start with Zhu.
Yeah, sure. I think so. I'll back it up a little bit. I think in other companies that I've worked at, I think there's always like an AI team, and that becomes kind of like everybody's one-stop shop when they need to work with AI. And the issue with that approach is that, like, as the organization's needs grow for AI, like the team just cannot scale fast enough, right? And Intuit, we're doing something really different here. We're approaching this from a platform perspective. We're a platform company, and our approach is to really be able to empower like people all across the business, even people in non-technical roles like designers, business analysts, and enable them to build and leverage AI to deliver customer value. I'll pass it on to Efraim to tell you more in detail.
Yeah, so we've been building a reusable unified tech stack, leveraging the Intuit platform. And we have 6,500 or more technologists in the company. All of them are opinionated how to do things, and we don't want 6,500 or more siloed solutions. We need to have portability between teams. We need to make sure that our AI will be performant. And also, as a fintech company, we need to make sure that it's compliant with laws, not biased, and also compliant with ethical standards. So what we do is we look at the entire process of the AI model building cycle, the model development life cycle. We identify common areas that can be reused, so we don't have to build the same thing over and over again, and those become part of a platform. And then we can leverage the platform and the common patterns that we've identified to simplify the model development process to make it easy to use and integrate into the actual product domain, even outside of the AI domain, because one of the issues that happens is, you can have the data scientists operating in their own little world, and then somehow that all the good stuff that they generate has to be able to be brought into product. And a lot of it is just good software engineering practices in the AI world. So separation of concerns, building in layers, in infrastructure layer, data layer, frameworks layer. And there are a lot of ways of doing things. We have lots of people, and we also need standards. So we standardize the AI architecture, we standardize the sets of frameworks, we standardize the layers, and we specify how the contracts and the APIs between those layers work. So that basically not just the AI platform team or the anyone who's working in the AI space or even the product development space can contribute to it. And we're working even on building this into our product such that we can bring AutoML in that's compliant to all of these tech standards that we've set up, and that would allow analysts and product developers to get into AI, bring it into the product with appropriate guardrails that are automatically enabled them to let them know whether the particular model that the AutoML has generated is actually going to be good for their use case. And then it democratizes the process of AI and brings sends the harder problems to the data scientists and AI practitioners, and the sort of easier problems are still solvable by ML and AI, and they're solvable by the product analysts and engineers. I'll turn over to Justin.
Maybe I'll just add on a little bit more. I think to me, there's it's a two-part process. You first got to create the AI, and I think we just talked a whole bunch about how we're authoring, and then the second side is on consuming it. And maybe I'll talk about those two just separately. On the first stuff, I think 100% of what Efraim said. We're pioneering a lot of new tech, which kind of reduces the number of people required. So now you don't need to have Efraim or a data science white glove and show you a demo to figure out what a model does. We're trying to put all these standards and stuff in place so we can kind of remove some of the people and lighten out the process a little bit. So instead of spending weeks of effort trying to coordinate meetings and getting on people's calendars, hopefully now you can do it in a more self-serve way. So now that entire discovery process can happen in terms of building a model, can happen in a matter of hours, ideally. And as Efraim also said, we're also trying to go very code first. So instead of doing everything manually, just following a playbook, so to speak, every step is coded. And because it's coded, we can automate it and we can replay it 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times and that's how we really get that speed. So that's kind of how we're increasing stuff on the authoring side. And then maybe just to touch on the consumption side. So this is for teams trying to use AI across all of our products. I think one of the things that I think Zhu also touched on this as well is really around discoverability and making sure that our AI is available to not just our software engineers and our data scientists, but our designers, our PMs, our analysts, everyone across all the functions around the company. If we can get everyone to collaborate and explore AI, we can build better products for customers. And having this equal access to AI is really, really important because, like I said, if everyone has a good idea of how AI works, you can build better products, and you don't need to have an Efraim sitting with you for 8 hours of the day to kind of guide your decision. You're able to make all these decisions more on your own time scale, and hopefully it'll let us as a company move a little bit faster.
I am really appreciating the intersectionality that y'all are bringing in, the interfunctionality, I guess, in terms of embracing every aspect of this pipeline being not just for technologists and engineers, but for everybody who works on our products together. So thank you for bringing us that mindset and that viewpoint. It's really illuminating, I think, and eye-opening. I have just 2 more questions for our panelists before we head on to our community questions. So sit tight. We'll get to your questions really quick. I see everyone's questions coming in. They're all very good. So we'll get to as many as we can, and do keep putting your questions in there. So I have another question. I know we've been kind of blasting through the buzzwords. So one of them was democratizing AI, one was reusable AI. And the next one I have for you is AI everywhere. And these all kind of sound the same when you put them all together like this. But about that phrase, AI everywhere, it's something you hear a lot. I feel like it's a recent trend, a buzzword we hear in the AI space. Where is Intuit on the AI everywhere journey? And how does our work in AI and getting AI everywhere, how does that help we talked a lot about just now about how it helps our teams, how we move faster to build products, but how does it help our customers in the long run? This is also a question for all the panelists. So we'll start with Zhu again.
Sure. Yeah, so I think here at Intuit, everything we do is around our customers. Customer obsession is one of our Intuit's core values. And we're always thinking about every detail, how we're going to solve our customers' needs in order for them to prosper and grow their businesses. And so I think as AI becomes increasingly available in Intuit's products, we're basically providing customers access to AI-derived insights, and millions of small business owners can now also harness the power of AI, like for their own business and decision-making.
Maybe
Justin,
I'll go next, so I'm not last this time. But I would say Intuit, as a company, we have this mission that many people hear a lot, to power prosperity around the world. And we accomplish that primarily through AI, right? It's through the Intuit AI-driven expert platform. So AI everywhere is very pivotal and critical, really, on this journey. My personal 2 cents is I think we've made significant progress by leveraging the platform as a whole, which is why you'll see AI throughout the product today, whether it's autocomplete like we've been talking about, or forecasting your cash flow for your business. There's all these different places where it already exists, but Intuit as a company, we really act, even though we've been alive for 40 years, Intuit acts as a 40-year-old startup. We're constantly disrupting ourselves, evolving, pushing the boundaries further, and not settling and being content with what we currently have. So we're continuously evolving, we're continuously improving. And to me, that means, although we have an amazing start, we still have quite a journey that we want to continue to go on. We want to continue to advance all of our AI, all of our natural language processing, all of our machine learning, all of our knowledge engineering capabilities. And by continuing to invest and expand upon AI, I believe that that's how we'll continue to deliver complete confidence for our customers and really leverage the power of everyone to deliver benefits for each and every one of our customers.
Yeah, adding to what Justin has said, the good thing with our company is the mission is clear. And so for me as a product manager, the way I tend to approach these things is starting from the customer problem. What is the problem that we are trying to solve? And the way I look at it is, one, saving money. And then there's also the notion of time, because you only get 24 hours in a day. You can't get any more than that. So AI helps in that. How can we give back time, reduce the time spent on any tedious tasks and giving them back? And so for something like autocomplete or forecasting cash flow, a lot of these things are things people can't do. But if we can get machine learning and AI to help them do less of these so that they can focus on their business, and even for some customers, focus more on their family, that to me is a good proposition of making AI available to everyone in order to give them back time. So it starts with a customer problem versus starting from a technology point of view. You have the problem, and then you say, okay, how can we solve this? And how can AI help? That's, to me, is AI everywhere.
Yeah. So I see AI everywhere, as something that can occur both in the back end and front end. Sometimes the user doesn't even see it, doesn't even see the AI, but it's there and it's providing help. So a good example is anyone who's done their taxes for a number of years will know that a couple of years ago, when you had to enter your W-2, you had to actually copy out all of the fields from your W-2. And over the years, we've gone from you can you had to actually copy out by hand to for some select number of people, you could get your data to be imported automatically from providers. And now you can actually just take a picture of your W-2, and our software will take the data in that W-2, put all the fields in properly, and you did not have to do any data entry at all. And there's AI in the back end from image processing, text processing, language understanding, all of that is going on in the back end. And there it just saved like our tens of millions of tax users all that typing time. And there's when you get into an alert from Mint telling you how much money you're spending on subscriptions every month, that is there's AI behind that. For most people, that just seems like they're getting an email. But all those smarts that are happening everywhere in the product that are going on both in the foreground where you see it like autocomplete, you see it immediately, and in the background where you don't even necessarily think that it's AI, that is AI everywhere.
I'm feeling inspired. I honestly was not expecting a lot of inspiration from that particular question. I didn't head into it expecting it, but thank you all for diving deep and taking us into the vision a little more when it comes to AI everywhere. I do have just one final question, and it is about what we're looking at on the horizon. So I am expecting more inspiration on that. I'm just curious about what you're personally interested in from a learning perspective, because so much of what we do here is about learning and continuing to grow, right? So for you personally, as technologists who work in this space, for all of the things that are on the horizon in the data, ML, AI space, it's crazy out there. This is a big field. Whether it's projects you're working on, things people are starting to talk about, a paper you read recently, what are you personally excited by that's on the horizon? Let's actually shuffle it up a bit. I feel like I keep making Zhu answer first. So let's get Justin. Justin, could you kick us off?
Sure. To me, I would say the biggest thing is, as everyone's really touched on, cross collaboration is very big here at Intuit. And I think that that's something that I'm really, really excited about. Because at the end of the day, if you really think about it, having this great data science AI model, this great statistics model, if you have a perfect model, but no application of it, no connection to a customer experience, it's not super useful. And what I'm really excited about is at Intuit, we're really investing in building out everything with an AI first mentality. Just as an example, we'll take like the design system. So we have design components all throughout all of our products at Intuit. Right now, we're redesigning a lot of our components to be AI first. So we're working very closely amongst designers, of course, the data scientists, engineers, everyone coming together to figure out, can we build, say, text fields that have autocomplete first capabilities thought of when we're designing the entire design spec, if that makes sense, just to make sure that the entire user experience is seamlessly designed for AI. And the goal for that is really to make sure that throughout the product, AI isn't more of an afterthought. It's designed from the very get-go and from the ground up. So that cross-collaboration and working cross-functionally across all of our teams to make sure that AI is everywhere in our product is something that's very exciting. And I think Intuit will be rolling out very soon in the next couple of years.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin.
Oh,
yeah, let's
let's
pass it to Ian next.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that is really exciting, touching on what Justin said, and the theme is more around the open source nature of AI. You have DALL-E, you have Stable Diffusion, and a lot of open source components that are used in the AI, like scikit-learn. So a lot of companies are rallying around this notion that, hey, we have this cool technology, let's make it available to everyone else, including us at Intuit. We've open sourced some of our tooling we've used here in building models. So I think that's what's exciting, because it's always good to build together, to build as a community, build on the work that other people have done. The theme in this panel has been, it's not new, it's available to everyone. And so that trend is continuing. So I'm excited to see what other companies are going to release, what people are going to come up with.
Perfect. And let's do Efraim, and then we can have Zhu wrap us up before we go to community questions.
Yeah, so I'm excited about something that's happening in a broader AI space. So AI was traditionally divided into the statistical database AI and symbolic AI, which is based on knowledge. And the original attempts at AI were all symbolic, with computation memory becoming less expensive over time. The statistical big data approach won, but it also has its limits. We're getting very good now at predicting like the next words, forming grammatically correct sentence with deep neural networks. And we're also getting really good at reproducing pictures of objects and associating objects with images and such. But we still have a problem with the truth. So actual truth and knowledge sometimes comes out as the most statistically probable next representation, but there's no guarantee that it will. So in spaces like conversational AI, and in finances in particular, truth is essential. So new approaches are bringing together the statistical knowledge generated in deep neural networks and classical logic and optimization based symbolic approaches to train hybrid AIs that are constrained by knowledge, like with rules and relationships. And there's a lot of work going on in the neurosymbolic space. I think it'll have a lot of impact on the industry within a few years.
Awesome. And I think to wrap up, a lot of really great things that Efraim, Ian, and Justin have said. I think what I want to add to that is that I think here at Intuit, what I'm really excited about is to kind of see all of this AI ML capabilities mature into a cohesive platform experience. What I mean by that is that, today, as you know, there's so many different pieces to building an AI, from the discovery all the way to, developing it and then actually integrating it and getting it into a product and making it available to customers. That overall cohesive experience is what we're currently working on here at Intuit, to basically enable like all the different variety of different roles, and making it easier and faster for people here at Intuit to build AI into products. And that's what I'm really excited to see, the speed to benefit that we'll be delivering with this platform strategy approach.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts on what you're excited by. I hope it was exciting also for our audience to hear a little of everyone's thoughts here. Let's move into community questions now. We have like a solid 10 minutes, so I want to get to at least a few. And a lot of these questions, we can just have one person handle it and move on, sort of get through as many as possible. There's a lot of interest in getting into AI ML or getting a role in AI ML. So let's start with something really practical. Casey Nguyen is asking, when interviewing people to join the AI ML team, what questions are you generally, like, how do you even interview for AI ML? What kinds of questions are you giving people? Who feels qualified to answer this question? Has anyone run an interview recently?
I guess I have. So we generally ask two types of questions. Some of them are about sort of knowledge of AI ML, and it depends on the particular AI ML role. And then there are questions about how to put together systems and build systems. And we also expect our AI ML practitioners to be reasonably good coders, and to actually be not just be like know the theory of AI ML, but to know the practice. So we can sort of divide the technical parts of it into knowledge of AI ML, like how it works, how to do it practically, and how to build systems.
That was very clear. Thank you. Awesome. Let's mark this one done and we'll move on. Actually, this question is for Ian specifically, also kind of in the career space. So what is your role as a PM on the AI ML team? Like what kinds of skills should be acquiring? If someone else wants to become a PM on an AI ML team, like what skills will they need? What skills do you use in your day job?
Yeah, I think one of the skills that is critical in this role is, one, being able to identify a problem, and a problem where AI can help ensure, because not all problems AI is the best fit, that's the honest truth. So just being able to know that. And as part of that, it's also knowing some AI techniques and what can be done and can't be done. So just having a brief background, it doesn't have to be deep at the Efraim level, but being knowledgeable enough to kind of make that determination. But mostly at the end of the day, as a product manager, it's mainly making sure that the problem is crystal clear. That's what the product manager does. And once you have a problem, it's clear, then you work with your team to come up with a solution to that problem. But it always starts with you as a PM being able to identify the problem. And the classical skill that is needed for that is just customer empathy. And the good thing at Intuit is we have a D4D process that is easily replicable, whether you're working in AI, whether you're working in QuickBooks or TurboTax, that you can bring to bear in the AI space. So
awesome. And just to add on, the D4D acronym, we use it a lot. If you come to our webinars, you'll hear us say it a lot. D4D is just our way of doing design thinking, which is a pretty industry standard process, but it is very customer centric in the way that we do it. Yeah. Thank you, Ian. All right. This next question, it revisits a little bit the concept of complete confidence that we talked about briefly throughout this webinar. So this question is from Saurabh. It is, in the fintech domain, generally the clients do not trust the black box model, or at least in Saurabh's experience. They would be leaning towards traditional models that can give them an equation. So how do you go about convincing the clients to trust robust models like XGBoost and others?
Maybe, or here, I'll start, and then Efraim, if you want to chime in. I would say for B, you definitely want to lean into your customers. Here at Intuit, we do a whole bunch of A/B tests. So take half your traffic, send it to a very simple model. Just in the case of autocomplete, you can send it to something like Elasticsearch, which is very rules-based. And then you can A/B test that against a model that's very AI-focused, that's using GPT-3 or whatever you can dream up of. And having that A/B test can really give you the data to say that, hey, the AI model does, conversion is 5% better than the rules-based approach. Therefore, we should go forward with a more black box model. But I don't know, Efraim, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so even the models that are more opaque, so let's just say, for one thing, it actually used to be way harder to sell AI ML within Intuit than it is now. Now that we are declared to be an AI-driven expert platform, people understand that what AI is capable of doing. And as Justin was saying, we also have to show it. So we can test the AI model against having no AI or having a set of human designed rules. We can combine AI models with rules when we must have a particular solution given a set of inputs. And there's also, like, XGBoost can be combined with other techniques like Shapley values, where we can tell which features we put into the model had the biggest impact on the solution that the model came up with, whether it was positive or negative. And then we can return that back. And in some cases, we can either kind of keep that on the side as a way to make sure that our models are acting or behaving correctly. Or in some cases, we can even show that to the customer and say, you have this result because of the following things.
Perfect. Thank you both for tackling that head on. We do have another question about, we talked a lot about working interfunctionally. We have a team here that's cross-functional. So how do you communicate your AI and ML work with like commercial teams who might not understand the technical details? Like, we've gotten pretty technical here, but if you're working with someone who really like would not have been able to follow Efraim's original introduction in the beginning, how would you talk to them and make sure they don't like communicate things to the market or to our customers incorrectly, and that we're actually communicating our value proposition?
I'll take a stab at that. I think the way it starts with is what Justin and Efraim talked about, in that you start with the customer problem, and then you try it out with different solutions. And then you realize that, hey, this solution that leverages AI is the better solution. Now, the way you communicate that out is not about the technology, it's about the benefits. And the goal is to always focus on the benefits. I know I've said this a lot. And so you're not going to say, hey, if you use this AI, it's some cool technology. It's all about, hey, if you use this, it's going to save you time. So it's focusing on the benefits, because at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people are interested in. Now, if they're interested, they can also get into how the technology works. But most of the time, highlighting the benefits is 99% the way to go.
Perfect. Thank you. Let me go ahead and mark that one done. All right. We do have a lot of recruiting questions in here. If y'all are interested about roles we have open into it, we're excited that you're interested, but we have a career site where everything is pretty much listed. So do check that out and follow up with our recruiters. Our recruiters will also try to follow up with you. You should all be on our mailing lists. We do have a feedback form at the end that we'll share, that you can share your thoughts, and our recruiters will also follow up where they can. So we do have a lot of questions also about like AI ethics, unbiased AI, fairness. These are all things that it's a really big topic. It could be a whole webinar on its own, so we're not going to tackle it explicitly here. But Intuit has recently joined the Partnership on AI. We have a statement out there on, I think their blog post is how it came out, but do feel free to read up on that. We have internal principles that we follow as well. And that's just to quickly touch on a few things that I see frequently in the Q&A. You all have really good questions. I wish we could get to all of them. There's an interesting one here about the technologies that I saw earlier. Sorry, could you give me just a moment? I think I lost it. It was someone was curious about the tools that we use. Where is it? Just a moment, I apologize. Okay, there was a question about the autocomplete fetched form and where the data comes from. So are we using a static database? And if it is static, how is the AI helping in that case?
Yeah. So there are actually different types of autocomplete. And the basic autocomplete is the decision that has to be made is, given the text that I started to type, which potential response should I give? The second type of, and that might be based on things you've already typed, and there's actually kind of less AI-ish in that. It's more, the AI would be more in the decision of like how to wait. Then there's autocomplete where you're not basing it off the text that a person has already typed. This is kind of the autocomplete that's more like what you would expect from coming out of like GPT-3, where you want to know what is the most likely next thing that a person is going to type, even if they've never typed it before, but in this particular domain, we expect a certain vocabulary. And that would be more of an AI solution. In the reusable AI space, we can actually combine all of those solutions under the same type of service, the same type of reusable AI autocomplete service, and then allow the product to determine, what do they want? Do they want a model that's going to directly mimic? Do they want a model that's going to mimic, but with potential modifications? Like, for example, if I wrote, invoice for August, but it already is August, maybe I should be writing invoice for September instead. And then next, like, maybe I don't know anything about them, or I know what domain they're operating in. What is the next likely word?
Perfect. Thank you for diving deep on the technical details a little there. That was a good question too from our audience. Thank you. There are so many more questions we would love to answer. Unfortunately, we are over time. Thank you all so much for joining us. And I hope it was an informative time for you all. So thank you all to our panelists, to our audience members. We look forward to seeing you at a future webinar. And we'd also, again, like to invite you to check out intuit.com/careers. That's our careers website. We got a lot of questions about what internships, entry-level positions, mid-range career level positions we have. It's all on there. So do check that out. And do please also fill out the survey and let us know how this was for you. That's it. Until next time, we'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. It was good to have you. Have a good one.